Hey everyone, I'm Oliver Shortle, National Artistic Manager for Kenra Professional. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be sharing with you tips and techniques to save you time behind the chair and also keep you inspired. The first technique I'm going to be sharing with you today is called reverse point cutting. This is an amazing technique where you're removing length and adding texture all at the same time, so you don't have to go in and soften your cut after you're finished. I'm going to be working from parietal ridge down and just cutting that section first. Because I'm cutting on dry hair today, I want to make sure that I'm not tying my other sections up into tight little buns because that'll disrupt the texture. When reverse point cutting, it's best to stand on the side of your section so you can see exactly what you're doing. So to start this off, I'll subsection this into two, and then I'm going to cut wherever I want to see my length. So I'm going to be cutting just below the shoulders here. So I'll come through, open the scissors, and close on my way down. It creates a nice softness through the perimeter, as you can see here, that I won't have to go in later and clean up. So then I'll go back through if I left a little bit too much length and just remove whatever I see that needs to leave. It's important to remember to not cut off all the little hairs that you may see sticking past the rest of the length because that's texture, that's what we're cutting. Subsections for reverse point cutting can be a little thicker than something like point cutting. So just like the previous section, I'll create another subsection, hold that out and shake it to release my first section. If I do see any areas that are too long, I can just go in and pinch that hair and then softly remove it. And then the last section, we'll go through the same exact thing, hold the hair out and shake to remove so that you can see your length, go back through and reverse point cut. Make sure that when you're determining this length, you don't get too caught up on an exact length. You want to have short pieces and longer pieces because that's what's going to create the softness around the perimeter. Because we're able to work with larger subsections, I'm actually able to cut this front all in one go. This saves a lot of time because you don't have to worry about taking 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch subsections and getting those so perfect. It really is all about visually sculpting this cut, which means I can continue that line all the way around to the front. So you can see that I left it a little bit longer here in the front. I'm going to go back in, use the same technique to just remove a little bit of length. So we see we have that soft perimeter all the way around the head. Now I'll move to the other side. Once I've cut both sides, it's important to go back to check and make sure that they have the same general length. The next technique I'm going to be sharing with you today is called soft notching. Soft notching is a great way to create layering and a blend between an upper and a lower section all at the same time. So as you can see, I've cut the perimeter already. I'm working with a center parting today because I want this hair to be able to flip to either side and have a lot of versatility. If your client does specifically wear it to one side or the other, you can absolutely create this texture at their part line. So for this technique, I'll work with diagonal back sectioning. So I'll take my first subsection, it's about 1 inch thick. So first I need to determine where I want my layers to fall. For today, we'll say we want it to fall right about at the jawline. So I'm going to use that as a visual guide and then connect into the perimeter that I've already created. Now, as we're creating this layering, we also want to make sure that there's a blend. So there will be a little bit of a point here that we want to remove. So we'll go through and cut into the hair, working your way down to the length. So to have a very soft, seamless layer, I can hold it at a low elevation. If I want more dramatic layering, I can hold it at a much higher elevation. I'll hold up, shake, make sure that I'm not going to recut any of the previous section. Holding at the same elevation, we're going to over direct to the first section, pull a visual guide from the top, and that's where we're going to start the layering. By doing this, I'll get an increase in length as we get toward the back of the head. So now at this section above the ear, we can see that I pulled a visual guide from our previous section, and then you can see the length down here. So I know that I need to remove all of this hair. you'll notice that there's not going to be a ton of layering here, and that's completely fine. That's because we did increase the length of our layers from the front coming toward the back. This technique is great when you want to create a lot of texture and movement. It's all done in one shot. Remove your length, add your texture, and your blend. When you're creating this cut on your client, make sure that their head is straight up and down and looking straight forward. That's how they're going to be wearing this haircut. You'll notice when I was cutting the right side, it had the head tilted more forward. That was really just so that you could see exactly how I was doing it. So when we get to the opposite side, we want to make sure that we have the same elevation and the same over direction that we had on the previous side. If you're right-handed, you'll cut on the right side. If you're left-handed, you'll cut on the left side. We'll take a look, make sure it all visually makes sense, make sure everything looks nice and blended. So again, we'll bring that subsection forward, take a guide from our shortest layer. It's always good to comb and redistribute the hair to make sure that you're not cutting hair that's already been cut off. Just like on the other side, once we get to the section that's directly above the ear, we'll start to pull directly out of the head. So once we get toward the back of the head, again, we'll switch to vertical to finish out the section. To really make sure that these sides are going to blend, you can take a visual guide from either side of this subsection, pull them down, and that's going to give you a very true read on where you need to start your layering. As you can see, we created a lot of really beautiful seamless layers along with blending, and it only took 10 to 12 subsections. Practice this technique because it can save you a lot of time in the salon. Thank you so much for watching this video featuring time-saving techniques and tips for behind the chair. Make sure to check back soon for more educational content.